The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 804. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is the co-founder of Wander Beauty, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Divya Gugnani. Divya, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Sure, I'm great. I'm happy to be here with you. So just a little bit about me. I started my career in investment banking. I worked in private equity and venture capital. I've been invested in many different companies and saw them build, flourish, and grow, and often sell. And then I took the leap into entrepreneurship and started my first venture many years ago. I've now co-founded 4 different companies, Wander Beauty being my 4th one. And Wander Beauty is really targeted at women like me, women like you, time-starved, on the go, want clean beauty essentials that they can reach for every day, that keep them gorgeous on the go. So we launched our brand about 5 years ago, and I've just been building and growing it ever since.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Divya, what's your cultural background?
So I actually was born in Springfield, Illinois, but both my parents are from India. So my dad and mom are both from New Delhi in India.
Thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I love this one from George Bernard Shaw. It says, and I really wish it said woman, not man, but here you go. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. That should just say woman, but there you go.
Thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
Confidence is about really trusting your gut and embracing imperfection and not having all the answers.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And I know something that we're really not doing is trusting our gut, especially as Asian women, right? We're so used to having people tell us what to do, make decisions for us that trusting our gut is like the last thing we do. But really, just because someone's telling us not to do something because they say so doesn't mean it's right for us, right? Sometimes we just have to trust our feelings, trust our gut. And just because it doesn't look like how we envision it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just seeing it in a different way. And it'll always end up to the, destination that you wanted. So I really love that definition that you mentioned. And Divya, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I think it's a lot of what you just said. I think that I grew up culturally in an environment where there were a lot of expectations around what I should be like, how I should speak, what I should do. And I really do feel like I bucked the trend in terms of really learning to develop a voice for myself and also develop the confidence to speak and share my opinion. So I think that a lot of the early years of my life were spent, working hard, getting good grades, playing the clarinet, playing the piano, going to college. And then it really took me graduating college and working at Goldman Sachs to work around some really strong, influential leaders and really look at their leadership style, how they built teams, how they collaborated, how they worked hard together to achieve incredible outcomes. And I think I learned a lot from that. And I started developing self-confidence, being surrounded by people who were so confident and had so much conviction about what they were doing and how they did it. So I think it was, a discovery and a journey of many, many years in the making. But I really feel like I had to come into my own and develop my own self-confidence and my own leadership style over time.
Thanks for sharing that. And, I love how you mentioned you surrounded yourselves with strong leadership, right? Because, they always say you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourselves with. And that's so true, right? Because, if we want to be empowered or be positive, we got to, hang around people who are like that so we can feed off of it, especially when we have days where we're just not 100% confident, because confidence is like a roller coaster. Some days you're up, some days you're down. And especially as an Asian woman, being a leader is something that's not really seen by society because they don't accept us as leaders because of model minority myths or how Asian women are seen. And I think this is something that we really need to bring up because there's so many amazing women, Asian women out there doing like amazing things. You have 4 companies that you've started and you founded, and then Wander Beauty alone is just creating such, a lot of buzz, right? And creating such success. And I think that's something we just have to keep showing people, right? Like this is possible. And, I'm really grateful that you're able to do that. And, because you're able to create your own style of leadership and be that person that you are today, what's your life been like now?
I think I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still developing more self-confidence. I think a lot of it also is experience that drives you to have more confidence. I think that after, building and running 3 different companies prior to building and running Wander Beauty, I made a lot of mistakes and I learned from those mistakes. And I wouldn't even call them mistakes. I would call them learning experiences, because every failure, every obstacle I overcame, something in there was a learning experience, and I learned like what not to do next time. And so I think that when I really look at who I am today and what I am today, it's a succession and a progression of a lot of missteps, and figuring out what went wrong and how to do it better. And I feel a lot more confidence because I have the pattern recognition of knowing what goes wrong and how to avoid that crisis. So I think that that's kind of how I describe my life today. I'm constantly like as a CEO of a business, you're constantly problem solving. Every day there's a new problem, and you just have the conviction to figure it out. You just have to apply your best energy, your best foot forward, have the best team around you, hire people that are smarter than you and brighter than you and who can add value to the pie, and really trust them. And really, that's been my journey of how I've kind of built Wander and continue to build it.
Thanks for sharing that. And I love how you mentioned, making mistakes, because I think that's something a lot of women, especially Asian women, are afraid of, right? Because they feel like if they make a mistake, they're not worthy, that, they're not good enough to go out there and, maybe start their own business or do something they love. But mistakes is all like part of the journey, right? I mean, I know I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. And like you mentioned, they're not really mistakes. It's more like feedback and course correcting and learning what to do right and what to do wrong. And, sometimes we just got to do everything wrong to get everything right. And I think the more we can share things like that, it can really help other people out there realize, like, yes, it's okay to make a mistake. And, sometimes you never know, the mistakes you make can also lead to your greatest opportunities. So I really love that you mentioned, like, the missteps that you've gone through and what you've learned and the experiences, just to show like this is all part of entrepreneurship. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What'd be that one tip you would give to her?
I think the most important thing is to be authentically you. I think that so many times when we are growing up in our careers or growing up, through the elementary years of school, we idolize and look to certain role models and like want to aspire to be like them. And I really feel like the best journey for you individually is the one where you are authentically yourself. And don't get caught up in how this person's doing social media and this person's talking to their audience and that person's building their brand and this person is speaking to their audience. Like that to me is like, use all of that as inspiration, but ultimately you're going to do the best job playing the role of you and being authentically you and sharing what feels right to you and feels natural to you. And so I think that being authentically you is probably the best advice someone could have given me early on in my career.
Thanks for sharing that great tip. And I totally agree. I think authenticity is something that's totally missing in this world. And the more that we can just show up as our true authentic selves, more people will be comfortable enough to, show up as themselves too. And just like you end up attracting the right people that come to you because you become more authentic and just showing your true self. So thanks for sharing that great tip. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you or about Wander Beauty, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes, you can shop Wander Beauty at wanderbeauty.com and also follow us along on Instagram at Wander, WANDER_beauty. And I'm at DGUGNANI. So at D Gugnani is me on Instagram. And if you have any questions or you want to connect, feel free to send me a DM. I always look at them and answer them.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Divya, you can also head on over to the taoselfconfidence.com and search for Divya's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Divya today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Divya.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to get your daily boost of confidence.